Hello and welcome to Miss Nicholson's Stories. Today I'm going to read you Dolphin Boy by Michael Morpurgo. Have you ever seen a dolphin before? Where do you think the dolphins live? Let's have a little listen. I think the boy in this story's seen one. Once upon a time there was a little fishing village. It was a very happy place. Well, not anymore. Once upon a time the fishermen of the village used to go out fishing every day. But not anymore. Once upon a time, there were lots of fish to catch. But not anymore. Now the boats lay high and dry on the beach, their paint peeling in the sun and their sails rotting in the sand. Jim's father was the only fisherman who still took his boat out. That was because he loved the Sally May ever so much. Just like an old friend, really. And he just couldn't bear to be parted with her. Whenever Jim wasn't at school, his father would take him along too. Jim loved the Sally May as much as his father did, in spite of her raggedy old sails, and there was nothing better he liked than taking the helm and hauling in the nets with his father. One day, on his way home from school, Jim saw his father sitting on the beach, staring out at an empty bay. Jim couldn't see the Sally May anywhere. "Where's the Sally May?" he asked. "She's up over there," said his father, "with all the other boats. I've got no fish at all. For a week, Jim. A week without any fish. She needs new sails and I just haven't got the money to pay for them at the moment. No fish, no money. We can't live without money. I'm sorry, Jim. We just can't cope." That night, Jim cried himself to sleep. After that, Jim always took the beach road to school because he loved to look at Sally May before school began. He was walking along the beach one morning when he saw something quite strange lying in the sand amongst the seaweed. It looked like a big log at first, but it wasn't because it started to move. Then it had a tail and a head. What do you think Jim saw? Yes, that's right. It was a dolphin. Jim knelt and stand beside him. Oh my goodness me! The dolphin and the boy looked into each other's eyes. Jim knew exactly what he had to do. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll go fetch help. I'll be back soon. I promise you." He ran all the way up the hill to school, as fast as he could go. Everyone was in the playground before school started. "You've got to come," he cried. "There's a dolphin on the beach. We've got to get him back into the water or he'll die. Quick, come, please help." Down the hill to the beach, all the children ran. The teachers too. Even Miss Nicholson. Soon, everyone in the village was there. Jim's father and his mother too. "Fetch the Sally May sail," cried Jim's mother. "We rolled him onto it." When they had fetched the sail, Jim crouched down beside the dolphin's head, stroking him and comforting him. "Don't worry," he whispered. "We'll soon have you back into the sea." They spread out the sail and rolled him onto it very gently. Then, when everyone had taken a tight grip of the sail, Jim's father gave the word, "Lift!" With hundreds of hands lifting together, they soon carried the dolphin down the sea where they laid him in the shallows and the waves would wash over him. The dolphin squeaked and clicked and slapped the sea with his smiley mouth. He was swimming now, but he didn't seem to want to leave. He swam around and around and around in circles. "Off you go," Jim shouted, wading in the way to try and push him out to sea. "Come on, off you go." And off he went at last. Everyone was clapping and cheering and waving goodbye. Jim just wanted to see him come back again though. But he didn't. Along with everyone else, Jim stayed and watched until he couldn't see him anymore. That day at school, Jim could think of absolutely nothing else but this poor dolphin. So he thought of the name, and he called him Smiler. Smiler seemed to suit him perfectly. Would you have given the dolphin the name Smiler? Or what name would you have given the dolphin? That moment when school was over, Jim ran back as fast as he could onto the beach, hoping and praying that Smiler would still be there. Maybe Smiler had come back. But Smiler wasn't there. He was actually nowhere to be seen. Filled with sudden sadness as he rushed down to the pier. "Oh, come back, Smiler," he cried. please come back. And to his amazement, at that very moment, Smiler rose out of the sea right in front of him. He turned over and over in the air and he crashed back down into the water, spattering Jim from head to toe. Jim didn't think twice. He dropped his bag, he pulled off his shoes and he dived straight into the pier as fast as he could. At once, Smiler was there beside him, swimming all around him, leaping over him and diving under him. Suddenly, Jim found himself being lifted up from below and he was sitting on Smiler. He was riding him. He was overjoyed. Off they sped out to sea, Jim clinging on as best as he could so he didn't fall off. But whenever he did fall off, and he often did, Smiler was always there so that Jim could always get back on. The further they went, the faster they went, and the faster they went, the more Jim enjoyed it. Around and around the bay, Smiler took him, and then back in at last to shore. By this time, everyone in the village had seen what was going on, and they were even diving in too to meet him. All of them wanted to swim with Smiler, to touch him, to stroke him, to play with him, and Smiler was happy to let them. They were having the best time of their lives. Every day after that, Smiler would be swimming near to shore, waiting for Jim to give him his ride. And every day, the children swam and played with them too. They loved his kind eyes and, of course, his sweet smiling face. Smiler was everybody's best friend, especially Jim's. Then, one day, Smiler wasn't there. They waited for him. They looked for him, but he didn't come. The next day he wasn't there either, nor the next day, or even the day after that. Well, Jim was absolutely heartbroken, and so were all the other children. Everyone in the village missed Smiler, young and old alike, and longed for him to come back. Every day they looked for him. He just was nowhere to be seen. When Jim's birthday came, his mother gave him something she might hope to cheer him up. It was a wonderful carving of a dolphin. She made it herself out of the driftwood she had found. But not even that seemed to make Jim happy. Then his father had a bright idea. Jim, why don't we go out on the sunny May and have a little look for Smiler? Yes, I would absolutely love that, Jim cried. Then we could try and find Smiler and bring him back. So they all went down to the beach and hauled the Sally Mae down to the water and set the sails, and out into the bay they went, and on to open sea where, despite her raggedy old sails, the Sally Mae flew way over the waves. Jim loved the wind in his face, the salt spray on his lips, and there were even lots of gulls. But there was no sight of Smiler anywhere. He called for him again and again, but he didn't come. The sun was setting by now, and the sea was glowing gold around them. I think we better get back now, Jim, Jim's father said. Oh, not yet, Jim cried. He's out here somewhere. I know he is. He's got to be. Surely, please, can we just stay just for 5 minutes longer? 5 more minutes? Well, as the Sally Mae turned for home, Jim called out one last time. Come back, Smiler, please come back. Please, please, Smiler, I miss you. Suddenly, the sea began to boil and bubble around the boat, as if it was going to come to life. And it was alive too. Alive with dolphins. There seemed to be hundreds of them leaping out of the sea alongside them. Behind them, in front of them, they were everywhere. Then one of them leapt right over the Sally Mae, right above Jim's head. Can you guess which dolphin was that did that? Yes, it was. It was Smiler. Smiler had come back, and by the look of it, he had brought his whole family with him. As the Sally Mae sailed into the bay, everyone saw her coming. The dolphins were dancing all about in a golden sea, and what a sight it was. Within days, the village was full of visitors, all of them there to see the famous dolphins and see Smiler playing with his children. And every morning, Jim played with Smiler. The Sally Mae and all the other fishing boats went out to sea and crammed with all the visitors, all of them only too happy to pay for the trip of their lifetime. They loved every minute of it, holding on to their hats and laughing with delight as the dolphins frisked and frolicked around them. Jim had never been so happy in all his life. He had Smiler back now, and his father of all the money he needed to buy the new sails for Sally Mae. And of all the other fishermen too, they could mend their sails and repaint their boats. Once again, the village was a happy place, but this time, a very happy place. And as for the children, they could go swimming with the dolphins whenever they wanted to. They could stroke them and swim and play with them and even talk to them. But they only knew that one dolphin would always let them have a ride. That was Smiler, of course. And they all knew that there was only one person in the whole world who Smiler would love to take for a ride more than anyone else. And of course, that was Jim. I hope you enjoyed that story. Come and join me again shortly for another story. Maybe it'll be another Michael Morpurgo one. Good night.